I think it's more
to
about,
understand it.
yeah, exactly. I think it's more about, well, I think the more logical thing would have been to say, the sky is the mysterious part here. And we don't have a good understanding of what's going on in the sky. And maybe that's where we should be focusing our new information on.
Sure. And could it all be mysterious?
It's also weird people focusing on the AE model.
I mean, I'm mystified by life. I'm
As in
mystified
we
by.
had.
Say it again, Shane, my bad. He was talking. Go ahead.
It's like the AE model thing. Like there is no really AE model. One of my biggest points is that they're all projected from the same coordinate system, right? They say it's the globe projected, and that's why it's distortion. I say it's a celestial sphere, it's projected. That's why it's the distortion. The end result is the same in each case, meaning that it's the same projected coordinate system. So if an orthographic globe is the different projection of the azimuthal equidistant, but it uses the same coordinate system, how can one be disproven and not the other? That's silly. I think that the AE map model as we use it is a more of an indicative visualization of proximity, right? Things that are located next to each other, not for where the things are scaling. We know Australia isn't 3 times the size because the people who use the tool don't understand it's an azimuthal equidistant projection, and distortion increases as you decrease from the center, right? So
hey, Shane, you're right. You're right on the money. I think it's like that quote you might have heard, I walk as far as I can see and then I see farther. I don't remember the AE Gleason map being this like definitive map ever on the journey until maybe this trip presented itself and it was, hey, these are the 2 maps. Now I had seen it. I'd seen the UN map comparison. I've read Nos Confunden's books and seen his maps and pixelated drawings. The data points are still coming in. I think we all agree. So now we're a little further. We've all walked a little further. I think what you're saying generally would have to be the reasoning, which is the proximity and size of certain things as we're aware of them, right? So going to where I went in South America, very well could have a shape to it that we're not accurately depicting, which would put it closer at its bottom near Santiago to Sydney to make that flight make sense.
Johnathan, great to meet you. I'm in Rio de Janeiro, which is like right on the Tropic of Capricorn. And what I noticed when you were in Chile, the sunset and sunrise in both the southeast and southwest. And how is this? And this also happens on the other side. So how is this possible if the sun is within the tropics, which is on the other side?
Yeah, where do you see the sun at its like right now I'm in Los Angeles and the sun is probably slightly up from eye angle into the distance to my, see I have a compass around my neck. Yeah, to my like southwest. Yeah, right on southwest. Well, slightly to the right of it, left of it.
Right, because you
were you seeing it direct? Is what you're saying in the right in the tropic?
So, yeah, it's pretty
overhead.
Overhead, exactly.
I think with what Shane's saying and what you're saying and what I'm thinking, those seem like the only real focal directions that we put all the artists on, because there's something to it. It's hard for me for a lot of the science and things to then take what we're saying and be like, well, our perspective of what we're seeing, it can't be exactly what we think what we have been told this all is, because there's anomalies like what you're saying, which is a great anomaly. It's sort of like the Carl Sagan does a video about some Egyptian measuring the sun. Do you guys know what I'm referencing? There's like an example to where he sticks a stick in the sand, and then he does it again like
Eratosthenes. The Eratosthenes experiment. He's a Greek, between Alexandria and Syene. That shit.
That's it. Yeah. Because, and I'm not using that as proof. I'm using that as like an experiment that shows, I think, perspective from different points of viewing. So like from, where'd you say we're, Colombia? So the gentleman speaking, I forget, not Shane, but he didn't introduce himself.
I'm in Rio, Brazil. I was in your same time zone when you guys, were in Chile and Antarctica. I was in your guys' time zone.
Yeah, so I wonder then, because you've seen the 24-hour Dave McKeegan image, time lapse where the sun. I want to share some stuff with you guys that might be the right place to share it. And nothing, I'm not concealing anything for the documentary. Ultimately, like I keep referring, the documentary is about the people. But these data points are interesting to me as one of the participants. I filmed myself. I took like a Werner Herzog approach while we were in Antarctica and traveling. But on the outside of that, I did film myself talking to like a camera and putting my thoughts down. I will narrate where all this lands. I will shape what we examine. So here's a couple of data points as a filmmaker I found interesting while at Halfway Point. I used a large cloth. It's called a duvetine cloth. It's a production thing. One side is soft and it like doesn't reflect light, so it's able to create shadows or block the light. I brought one of these and I wrapped it around me. But you've probably seen some photos of me like wrapped in like a black cloth with just the lens at the top. I've got a microphone hanging down the side, a bag on my shoulder. I was wrapped inside of this so that I could expose my camera. I had a polarizing filter so I could really contrast the colors of the ice and snow and reflections and just make them really deep and rich. But my camera, here's the point. I tried to shoot at 100 ISO exclusively. I was almost entirely at a 50 shutter, which is you double for whatever your frame rate is, of frames per second. 24 frames a second is a classic movie or television or you know, it's just kind of the standard. So if I'm shooting at 24 frames a second, I'm shooting at 1/50th shutter speed. And my f-stop was the interesting point here because it changes. So the mountain, Mount Rossmore, the large mountain that is behind the camp where you see the images of the clamshells, it's also in the distance from us. I believe it's to the south is directly like behind it. So that would make the sides with the mountains and the glacier, that would be south. That would be heading towards the South Pole. Whereas the opposite side, which had some mountains to the left of frame and then to the right, it opened up all the way around almost to Mount Rossmore again. It was flat and just white. When the sun was over the side, the south side, where a little to the right of Mount Rossmore, it was colder. My f-stop on my camera was lower. I was at a 14. That means f-stop's how big the hole gets or opens or closes. So like a 1.4 or 1.2 would be the fastest I could open my lenses. And a 30 on one of my lenses was the most I could close it. So a 30 is like a very small hole. And every f-stop is you're either doubling the amount of light or you're halving the amount of light. For example, if I'm shooting at a 1.4 and then I close my f-stop one click, that would be a 2.8. If I close it again, that's a 5.6. Close it again, that's an 8. You see, it's a half as much light is visible every time you close it or open it, depending on the direction. So I was at a 14 on the cold time of day, and it was like a sweet spot. But I noticed that when the sun was on the other side, to the side where I described, there's it's like the opposite of south, the north side, I would say, but a little bit of an angle. There's no mountains. It's white, flat sand or snow and ice. When the sun was on that side, my f-stop was like usually a 22, and there was an occasion I was at a 30. So and that time of day was hotter. That would be the time of day when I have that photo with my shirt off and I'm sitting by the ice, or when we did a group shot when we were all at the camp when we first arrived. A couple of the other guys were like, I'm gonna take my shirt off too because it wasn't that bad, which I found as an interesting data point. My camera goes from a 22 to a 30. It doesn't go from a 22 to a 44. So that's not a complete stop. That's just, I guess, the particular lens. But from a 14 to a 22, I mean, I can grab my camera right now, actually. I think that's 2 clicks, which would be 2 stops of light. But in addition to that, when the sun was in the cold part where I was at a 14, it was on a lower angle on the horizon, right behind the mountains. And when it went around to the side, the white, vast open side, when it was warmer during the day, there's something that just stands out to me. I don't know. Are you guys still following me?
I think I have a quick question. I'm about to start cooking and stuff. Thank you so much for coming here and explaining this, giving your side of the story. I think it's so interesting. But my question is, would you be, and not to declare one way or the other for your creative project as an artist and director, essentially, I would love to see where you go with that. But would you be interested in publishing the anomalies that you spoke of earlier? Because when the trip took place, we were discussing these anomalies where it's like, okay, we can see that the sun is in the sky. That's fair, right? We're not crazy. That's the sun. But there are still anomalies, just like the ones you're talking about, and some ones that people have discussed in the room, or just people who are, there's a hashtag on TikTok right now that is not flat earth experiment, where people are talking about all of the possibilities and they're not shut down at all. So would you be willing to do a project on the anomalies? Not exactly as a clapback, but just, there are other people that have things to say and there are other perspectives.
Yeah, no, I think the key thing is other people have things to say. And one thing that I noticed is there's an argument that from a flat earth perspective, there's no response, that the science side brought all the experiments. And I would disagree by sake of what we're talking about now. And so I think a good thing to do, because this is the type of stuff I would like to further examine for the greater piece. I mean, it would be a little disingenuous and inauthentic of me to know there's other things that weren't touched on and to not touch on them. We're in post-production now, but there's the possibility of shooting more, exploring more. I know that Will has some plans, and quite frankly, I think he welcomes these type of challenges. So if we collectively could get the voice, at least for these questions, articulated, I'll make a list of mine. I'd love to know everyone else's anomalies, but the f-stop on the lenses being the differences that they are, I can get those specifics. And like what Shane's saying, which is and the other guy that was in the same time zone. I think those are valid points. What was your name? I'm sorry.
Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, so I'm probably going to disagree with your notion or your idea that that he's interested in the truth. I mean, just listen to what you said to us here today, how he equates.
Oh wait, I didn't say the truth. I said he's interested in the questions, like the challenge, because like to say truth would mean we'd have to agree with whatever that is.
So
right?
no, I mean even the idea that I think he's open to presenting information that contradicts the narrative that he's perpetuating. I don't think that's accurate.
Well, he would definitely, if it came from myself and Liz, and if Jaron was involved in Witset, I mean, those guys are definitely seeking what I would describe as truth. Like we want to know answers. No one's made these.
I agree. I know they are, right? But
and so it would be difficult. It would be difficult for anyone, much less Will, to proceed without fielding what we thought. And I think that is maybe the catalyst, but it would happen.
So ultimately, who has the final say on what the documentary is going to portray?
Well, I mean, that's such a crazy question, because if someone wants to buy it, they're going to have to want a certain, I wouldn't say slant to it, but they might not want like F-bombs in it and stuff like that. Right now I'm approaching it a little bit more loose, but I'm the director and the producer on this. There's
agreement that certain people with a bag and they wanted this slant to it, because you're right. Your first word was correct. It's a slant, right? Because I think Jaron dealt with this with Netflix, right? There was a specific slant that was desired.
Yeah.
And any company coming to you with a lot of money is going to be of a particular, let's say, mindset, right, about the topic. And so they're going to want a slant, right?
I would say that most like networks have at least a tone. Like Disney's tone is different from A&E. So there's that side of it, if I'm being honest, right? Like
no
A&E
network is pro
do
flat earth though, right? We can agree to that.
I don't know. What's the Candace Owens network feel about it?
Candace, she's not on the network. She's on fucking YouTube, right?
Yeah, it's 2024,
and they're
man.
anti-flat earth.
Good ideas all good ideas come with time. What is it? With time to pass. Like, you can't silence a good idea. All you
I
can do is cut
agree.
the person's tongue out. So it's just got to be articulated in a point where we take what Shane's saying in a very technical, very scientific, and like, you have words I don't even understand, I'll say, right, Shane? And just being honest, but like, we need to contextualize those words in examples that the masses do understand, because that's the translation that's necessary for people to start to, I think, be able to perceive that. My documentary is going to bring attention on the debate one way or another, and I'm not going to do anything for bags of money just to, for the sake of just doing, like, I'm curious about this. And how could I live with myself? I would be like an astronaut who can't even swear on the Bible and has all these, like, I'm not going to live that life. I mean, I'm already invested in ideas that have cost me and have been controversial, and that the mainstream has fought, but we're batting 1,000 also. So it's hard to say, well, I've been right about so much. There's esoteric information controlled out there. But also, let me just buy into it and be a part of it. Um, I didn't get 42 years in life struggling as a filmmaker, which is what it is, to get to a point with an opportunity to, make an impact. So you have to trust me in that sense. And I don't think anyone has anything to lose in trusting me, because I want to know and understand, and make it coherent for us all. Like, not even to understand, like, as an agreement. The word understands deceptive alone. It means to agree. We all think it means to comprehend, but I want us to agree. And I think the way to do that is you have to present ideas like what Shane's saying, the ideas about my lighting, f-stops, and the temperature. I think what with Mark's saying and observations, like, there's a lot to this. Those ideas weren't on my palette, and no one presented them really to me as took the time to do it like you're doing now. I don't blame anyone. I think from all of us that went, we were, we were like, it's a big undertaking. The travel, putting yourself out there. We all know what that means by going to do it, when you can just Google and see there is things in the heavens that are mysterious that people say happen, that happen, right? 24-hour sun. So that freaking map doesn't work. Like, give me a map that works.
Right. So I think that right there is the I don't say it's the issue, but that's the thing where a lot of us are like, hold on, right? That's not where we are with this.
So let's
And,
get there. Where are we?
right. And so I think where we are is what I said to you earlier, where the ground, for better or worse, we agree, it doesn't curve. So flat Earth isn't even the question. Like this observation, right? TFE, whatever you want to call it, it had nothing to do with is the Earth flat or not, right? And I'm curious to know is if that understanding is made very clear in your documentary, like that from a flat Earth perspective. This has nothing to do with is the Earth flat or proving the Earth being flat. It's all about observing what is the sky doing. Is our understanding of the sky complete or is it incomplete? Do we need to do more research or come up with other ideas about what's going on in the sky? But the science is settled from our perspective that there is no curvature of the surface of the earth. Is that being put forth in the documentary?
It can be, if I can have the way to put it forth. I'm all ears right now. And furthermore, like, what do we do
Can I
next? What's your thoughts? You'd say
can
you're the guy now.
can
So
I jump
where
in with
were
a question if possible?
Hold on, Gonzo. We kind of
All right
talking
then.
right now. Give me a
All
second.
right then. All right then.
Yeah. So I mean, however you'd like it to proceed, if you want, like I know Austin is already in it, Jaron is in it. If you want them making it very clear, like I don't know where they are in the in being in your documentary, but if you want them to do it or whoever agrees to do it, if you want them to do it, like that's cool. If you want somebody else to do it, if you want to do some posts where you're like, hey, I interviewed other flat earthers on the way
Hello.
and this, that, and the other. Like however you want to do it, I think we can make that happen. right? But if you're
Yeah,
gonna,
that needs to happen. I mean, because everyone's got great microphones and Zoom. We can whether it's set up a camera or just do it over Zoom. No, or they put themselves on tape. I am at a point now where I've just backed up the footage. I mean, I haven't even viewed anything.
right,
I have tons of notes. I have my own questions of things. Things that I look at times I'm filming someone that's talking about the measurement of mass, and I'm trying to understand all of these new terms while also making sure they're in the light and like we have battery power and I'm recording the audio. So there's like a lot of different phases of this. So I guess what I'm asking you and anyone and everyone listening, my email is my last name at Gmail, like present to me the world and I'm all ears. And this is a good opportunity because everyone's listening and people are not as stupid as we're led to believe they are. We all get information very quickly at the same time these days, whether it's my baby boomer dad and my uncle sending me emails of stuff I just read, or my in-laws, telling me something I just read that I'm surprised by. Information moves incredibly fast. Um, and there's no time frame here. So, I mean, if it meant me getting to Hadley to film his dome, I mean, I think that's just a cool dome anyway. Like, I like the way he's thinking about it. I like the fact that he's doing them every day and they change, and he's like, okay, here's a new piece of information. Um, I like what Shane's presenting because I think the proximity thing is a really big one. I think that like, me and the others that were there, we definitely experienced times where it's warmer than it is and colder than it. So making sense of all of that is relevant.
right. So I think that's a great idea, right? So if we could work to make sure that the flat Earth position is well represented, right? Um, in your documentary, even like as you kind of go to Antarctica and see what's like, I think that could work.
Why wouldn't we? First of all, we've got
Yeah,
the
no,
attention and the ears. Why wouldn't we?
I agree. I
And
agree.
what better people than us? I mean, if not now, when? If not who? If not us, who?
Right.
For
So
sure, for sure.
if you're into it, like Google spreadsheet, Google document, like I got a pen and paper here. Like we need to get, and if it's all about open source, because open source is the best way for scrutiny, like news aggregated stuff is. Like if we're putting that where other people can weigh in on it, um, obviously there's going to be people jumping in with contradictory stuff. That could be helpful, that could be annoying, that could be spam. But I think like at the least, I put my email in this group. This group's here talking about it. I didn't visit groups, but like I said, but like now I am. Now I know where to look. I at least have three people to look towards. Liz presenting this. She's got some great people behind her from like a NASA optical scientist. I mean, I just want to talk to that guy about lenses and glass as it is. So that's a really cool person to have. I think, Jaron is a very sincere person. And the person I met in Antarctica is someone I'm definitely interested to hear, like myself, when he's had time to really process it. Like, you understand, we were around 8 strangers all day long, all of us, like meals, and then in rooms, rooming with people we didn't know, and then on excursions or in buses or back to meals. And that can be very overwhelming, I think, for like processing. So I'm back now and I almost want to shut it out, except this is the kind of conversation I want to have, a little bit more of like a defined approach. I don't want just people asking me, is it round or flat, that I already know, that I've already, probably led them to these beliefs for so long. Like, those aren't the conversations that are going to stimulate what I need to explore. These are. And I'm curious what Jaron and Whitsitt are going to also do. And obviously Elizabeth is in here with us, um, and cares very deeply about it. So,
Yeah.
let's go.
So,
Yeah.
John, it appeared where you guys were was very flat. And that's the one experiment I wish you guys could have done, is go at least, a few miles and show how flat of a place you guys were in.
Well, actually, I can touch on that. So I do have some footage of a plane landing at our camp when we were at a place called the halfway point, or I think that's what we called it. The plane, it's hard to you can't see our camp from where we were, and you can't see where we were from our camp, but they're not that far. The route is elongated because we had to go this like loop. We have to stay on this loop to go around it where the cars are, because it's like compacted with like machine cars, so like all the trucks can ride on it easily. And so we'd go this like long way around it, but we also took an excursion, and I took two of them to something called the I think it was called the wind scoop, or like the something scoop, or the it's basically where the glacier comes down from the Antarctic plateau, and it's very obvious. It's towards a spot called Elephant Rock, which if you're looking at Mount Rossmore from in our camp, it's directly to the right. And that was 10 kilometers. And I'll tell you, so when we were at the camp one day, a plane came in, a snow otter, little red airplane. We flew in one also. And we were told it was coming in because I was droning, and they're like, okay, we got to wait. So plane will be here in like 15 minutes. So myself and Dave were like, let's go shoot it. So we ran down to get away from everyone and the experiments and the noise and talking, because I had sound. We ran down the road to go to a better vantage point, a little different spot, and film it. And as the plane comes in, it disappears. First the front of it, and then the tail is like the last thing. It disappears under the slope of the snow, which I don't know how far it was. We could measure on what I guess what Google says, or the tracking devices we used, but it did disappear. So it wasn't exactly flat as you would think. And then on top of that, we went to the blue ice runway, and then we went beyond it to this wind scoop thing, which was like closer to the glacier. And I went back at night the same day with just Will to fly our drones. And so something interesting, our drones, we were able to fly a mile high. We got clearance for, I guess it's like 5,000 feet or something like that. So we had permission to fly from the company. We had permission from DJI. They unlocked them. So I got a Mavic 2 Pro, and he has a DJI Mini 4. We're able to get them both up a mile high, see in every direction. It's interesting. You can see the reflection of the bright white blue ice runway. The sun was setting in the distance behind the glacier up the plateau. And that plateau for 600 miles is just a slow incline of nothing, from what I'm told. Where we were, there was 2.5 miles of ice, but the water and sea level was only 500 meters below us. So for what it's worth.
Right. Because, I mean, I live, I told you, in Rio. There's a bay here, and it's 13 kilometers across. And anyone from one side or the other can see the sand on the beach of the other side of the bay.
We tried an experiment like that. Now, I'd like to see, I'd love to, if we could set up a way for you to film that with someone, just to put it onto visuals. We tried to look for this lighthouse that Mike Toon mentioned that was 20 miles across the sea, the Strait of Magellan, out the back of Punta Arenas where we were. There was like water. And I couldn't see it. Mike couldn't see it. He went up to his room on the 8th floor, couldn't see it. According to ChatGPT, you couldn't see it anywhere. There wasn't a high enough vantage point in Punta Arenas to see it, not even this like dream hotel casino. So we did that experiment trying to visualize it with the P1000s and the P900. I don't know what that could be. Maybe it's the water, maybe it's the tide, maybe it's just not possible. Because I've heard of Mobile Bay in Alabama also having a similar to the Rio effect that you said, where you can see across it. And I think Mobile Bay is 18 miles. That was one of the early ones I remember them. One of the movies. I think it was The Convex Earth touched on it.
The Tequila group?
Is that who it was, where they determined the Earth was like a pear, like elongated?
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I think at the end.
I think they came to that type of conclusion.
So I can,
Isn't that the mainstream? So, yeah, I think that'd be, I think that would be quality to include some actual flat Earth evidence in the documentary, right? So if you really feel like, if you're, because it sounds like you're interested in representing the flat Earth side in a fair manner, right? That's what it sounds like. That's the feel I'm getting right now. Okay, and so if that's the case, then I think that would be very helpful to help people understand what we're saying, right? If you want to present a balanced approach to the trip, then it would be, yo, what would make people say these things? And for us, it's the science, it's the experimentation, it's the long distance observations, right, that are rock solid. It's not what the sky is doing. And I think I can't hammer on that enough, that the flat earth conversation is not about what the sky is doing. All right. And so any discussion about the flat earth must start with the ground and what the ground is doing. All right. So I think from just from our side of the table, that's where we are with it. You get me?
Mm-hmm.
And like, if you want to talk about other possibilities of what the sky is doing, I think that would I think that could also be included. I don't know, Shane. I know Alan, you here. You ain't said too much. You guys got any thoughts different from what I said, or you want to chime in?
I would
No,
like to
do a quick
jump
recap of
in
your
if
thoughts
it's
real quick.
possible.
Hold on, Alan. What'd you say?
Do a quick recap of your thoughts real quick. I just got here a little bit ago.
Yeah. So essentially, I know the brother Johnathan. So he's not like involved in any flat earth communities, right? But he has an inclination towards flat earth. But I think he didn't understand that our position was that this is not an experiment. First of all, that the science is settled on what the ground is doing, right? We know that the ground isn't curving. We know it's not a ball. And so going to Antarctica had nothing to do with flat Earth. It was purely about observing what the sky is doing, right? To see if our hypothesis about what the sky is doing is correct, or do we need to further investigate what's going on in the sky? But it's not, going to Antarctica is not about flat or globe.
Yeah, so I know most of the community when this came out was like, stuff in the sky doesn't dictate what's on the ground. And there was a small subset of people that were like, putting their hat on this observation. And I was one of them who was like, I'll take the Pepsi challenge. I don't think there's going to be a 24-hour sun. I was fully on the AE model, but like, super minority position really, because pretty much everyone, like the default is stuff in the sky can't tell you what the ground is. And actually this since this observation happened, if you're interested, Johnathan, in like continuing the conversation and seeing the positions and how it lays out, I'm working on a new like meta way to analyze and argue for flat earth through the null hypothesis method that they use for like PhD theses and whatnot. So when you have an observation of the 24-hour sun, it's like, does that tell you, can you use something in the sky to tell you what shape the ground is? And it's like, well, no, but you can use it to tell you what shape it isn't, right? So okay, there's a 24-hour sun that falsifies the conceptualization of the AE map unless you introduce an additional mechanism. But when you get into measurements of ground curvature, right, it's like all the ground curvature measurement, or all measurements of the ground, like, show that it's flat. You only find curvature when you it reference the stars. All curvature measurements are dependent on the stars. If you were to just go out, put a theodolite out, and look at something out in the distance like a mountain, take the measurement, and then you're like, okay, this mountain measured smaller than what I expect it to be. Where did it go? Is it behind a curve, or is it optical compression? Well, when you start to see how much the mountain is missing, you're going to come back to Earth's radius. And then when you do that, you're automatically invoking measurements of the difference in the position of stars to determine Earth curvature. And that's where all of that comes from. So basically what happened was, if you follow the law of cosines to a star, which basically means if you know the elevation angle to a star, following the law of cosines, you can get a distance relationship out of that. And since the coordinate system, the latitude and longitude spherical coordinate system, since little sections of that are also all of our units of measurements that are related to nautical miles, you can compute distances based on the elevation angles to stars. So Well, what these people would do is they would take an elevation angle to the stars, then they would travel a distance to that star, and then they would be directly underneath it, right at their zenith, right? And they would level out their telescope or whatever instrument they were using, and then they would look up, and that star was supposed to be in a specific spot as dictated by the nautical almanac, which is based off of a snapshot of the sky during the vernal equinox. And what they always found was that no matter how level your telescope is, no matter how under that star you get, it's never in the crosshair. And what they started to have to do was come up with correction angles for that, and then they just told everyone that that was due to Earth curvature. So, like, long story short, but I had Kat post a link to a Obsidian page that I have where I'm kind of documenting all this and laying it out, because the 24-hour sun is just one data point. We have selenilian eclipses where the sun and the moon are both above the horizon, and you can, in the shadow of the eclipse goes top down instead of bottom up. That's a physical impossibility on a globe heliocentric model. That makes no sense. It doesn't give evidence for a globe. It's the opposite, you know. So there's that one, and there's a couple of other things like shadow sets, for example. So if a globe is true, and we could tell what the shape of the Earth is off of things in the sky and how they behave from our ground position, then if a ball is rotating away from the sun, the Earth, due to Earth's curvature casting the shadow, objects that cast a shadow would start to cast a higher shadow than the object casting it during sunset. And also, there would be an abrupt end to the shadow. Now, what actually happens is, and you can go to a house that has a window facing west during sunset, and you can observe that the shadow cast by the window will rise, you know, and then it starts to slow down as the sun gets further away. It never gets higher than the object casting it, and then it just fades away. That's a flat Earth prediction, not a globe Earth prediction. The globe predicts the literal opposite of that. So the position, you know, you can't tell what the shape of the ground is by the objects in the sky, but you could tell what shape it isn't with them. I think stands a much stronger position, argumentatively.
I'm trying to write this all down. What did you call these three terms again? You had the west facing shadow experiment.
Yeah, so I call it shadow sets. It's just just what happens to the shadows during the sunset. And then there's the selenilian eclipse. That's SELENELION eclipse.
Okay.
And then what was the other one I said? There was
about
the
star map being off
right
because of the vernal equinox.
Right, the surveying, right. So that's you would call that astrogeodetic surveying. My buddy Shane has a whole has a ton of information on that. I just kind of skimmed the cliff notes and put it all into a truncated version. But yeah, basically the nautical almanac references the positions of the stars on the vernal equinox, and this is a like an idealized location for a position of all the stars in the sky, and then they take that and draw triangles to it, and then they go underneath the stars to confirm the distances, and then they found that, you know, they could never quite do it, so they invented what's called deflection of the vertical, which is they say that there's gravitational anomalies in those areas, and you have to, and therefore when they drop their plug bob to level their device, it's actually not being put to the center of the ball, it's being off a little bit, so they have to physically tilt their theodolite to make that correction, and they mark that they note that angle that they correct for, and they attribute that to spherical excess, because they say that the ground's curved. But we know from Airy's failure and Arago's experiment that starlight comes in parallel but with a drift to it. It's you'll never see a star in a quote unquote true position. They don't have one. It's not real. And the only way that their coordinate system works with the most amount of accuracy is if that cosine triangle completes itself, because their whole system is based off of that triangle relationship and timing. So it's position based and timing, and they can only get, you know, so precise with timing because the positions of the things in the sky are, you know, they have their own tune to them, so to speak, and they're not going to be where you necessarily need them to be for your accuracy. So these corrections are all things that are done to facilitate accuracy of the you know, to establish a more accurate relationship with the position of stars in the sky versus with their ground position.
Okay.
And then if you check the chat, there's a link to a website called publish.obsidian.md/space audits. That link has everything I just mentioned on it, and in detail with some citations and stuff, so you can find everything there as well. And then, of course, not to keep rambling on here, but there was a Battle of the Beams, which is another falsification, a geometric impossibility on a globe as well, where a radar system was used in 1941 by the Germans to do a bombing attack against the British for a year. And the radar system is line of sight. They used it for up to 500 to 600 miles for their campaign. And it was dead accurate. And the geometry of the beam, what makes it impossible on a globe is that basically the only way this would work on a globe is if the radar system diffracted. But if that happened, then it wouldn't work because there has to be a specific geometry in the center of the beam to create what's called an equisignal. But I'm not going to go through all that unless you really want me to. I'm just trying to keep it short there. But yeah, look into all of this because there's more. It would take more than just a 24-hour sun to undo all of this. You know what I'm saying?
There's like 12 of them, right? None of which was dependent on celestial observations.
Yeah. And I'll admit too,
real fast.
it was super humbling to be wrong about the AE map thing, you know, because it was like I figured it out, you know, but then didn't really.
Yeah.
So it happens.
Yeah, real fast. So I'm about to have to go help with Aaliyah real quick, but I don't know how long you guys are gonna be in here or John's gonna be in here, but I do have your number, bro, so we'll definitely stay in touch. But just so you know, I don't know if you know, but we have like long distance infrared shots from Antarctica. So
Oh, what's up? What's it?
what's up? So those should definitely go in there. Like in the flight there, we have really long distance shots with infrared where we're seeing like super far.
Yeah, I want to connect and get all that. I was thinking a
Yeah.
Dropbox or something.
Yeah, and then and we can talk more like off air or whatever, but also I have like a bomb I'm about to drop on everyone regarding the globe model and the sun and this kind of assumption that, oh well, the globe can, perfectly map out where the sun is, and actually it can't. Okay, and there's a specific thing that if you take a 23.4-degree tilted globe and then to scale with the sun, you cannot get it to produce the proper sunrise and sunset angle, factually. So I'm not gonna say all the specifics right now, but that's why I think this whole thing is funny because I knew the whole time, really, regardless of what the sun is going to do, the sun can't be doing what they're saying that it's doing, and you can prove that. So, yeah, I think that's a pretty big that's a pretty big part of it. And whatever, we'll talk about you guys know, I mean, our position the whole time is just that we're not gonna be in like a hit piece or something that makes flat Earth look stupid or something that doesn't like really represent the reason that we exist in the first place, which is all of the empirical evidence and measurements and falsifications, like geometric falsifications on the surface itself. I was actually one of the people that historically I was very skeptical of the 24-hour sun and would go as far as to say I don't think it happened or nah, that's not real. But I never said I knew it didn't happen. I said I just didn't think we have enough evidence. And leading up to it, as I saw that it looked like it was going to be real, I had a flat earther reach out to me, say that he had seen a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, and he was supposedly a flat earther. And saw how confident they were about going. I'm like, oh, it's a real thing. So then people started digging through and they found like these random videos no one had ever seen of people like at Union Glacier skydiving and stuff that showed a 24-hour sun. So I wasn't going there expecting it to set, you know. But I just knew it was important that like real flat earther go. And yeah, so anyway, that's kind of my thing. I think I told you that the whole time on the trip though, right? Like I think it's super important that our
Yeah,
position
that's
actually
why
be
I'm
fairly
looking.
represented.
That's what I'm looking where I'm looking because I mean so many posts just from leaving, like I'm sure you saw too, leaving Punta, they're all like arguing over the shadows in a green screen. It's like, wait, Like there's more to this. This is not where our energy should be.
Yeah, yeah, it's all stupid. But whenever they get to like whole data dump, then everyone's just gonna that's gonna feel pretty stupid, right? So, but yeah, and then we'll talk more about stuff. But I'm actually like really excited about you making a documentary, to be honest. But yeah, I gotta help with my daughter for a sec. I just wanted to throw a couple things.
That's great. Good to hear. Good to hear you.
Yeah, glad you made it home safe.
Thank you.
Mind if I ask a question now?
Peace with it, by the
Sure.
way.
What's your question, Gonzo?
Well, a lot of you probably seen all the like theories about, or more rather, people on Twitter and TikTok and everybody coming up with theories on how the trip was faked, saying green screens and oh look at the shadows, calling everyone that went like a government plant, they've been paid off. I believe most people in here can agree on it did happen, and people actually went there and no one's been paid off. So I was kind of wondering, has this changed anyone's view on the flat Earth community? Like being
Have you been listening?
Oh yeah, I've been listening. I'm just asking a question.
I mean,
Does anybody feel different? Does anyone feel differently about the flat Earth community now that
has
all this come out?
he
has not been listening.
Yeah, all right, Gonzo.
Hey,
You wasted my fucking time on that dumbass question. Anyway,
yes. What? Anybody want to answer the question?
It's called concerned trolling, Gonzo.
Yeah, I know, right?
Passive aggressive trolling. Yeah, thanks.
I know, right? Anyway, so Jonathan, any other questions? Like, I think, like everything's been kind of pretty clear here, right? Like we haven't really mixed any words. Everything, like you understand at least my position, right?
I would say so.
All right, cool. Any questions? Like anything? Any concerns? I know Shane gave you a lot. Alan gave you a
Yeah,
lot.
tons of questions. But for now, no, it's good to have the first introduction too, I think. I haven't put myself out there really anywhere other than posting a couple TikTok videos.
Yeah.
And like I went live from once, but my YouTube was really just silly videos with my family.
Yeah.
So I think this is great. Like I've copied and saved all these links. Definitely
So
want to jump into that. I put my email.
Yeah, if you're like I said, if you really want to do a legit video, that includes like the trip to Antarctica, and represent an honest understanding of what we think. I'm all in. Like I'm willing to help. And I know Liz really likes you, right? And she was like, no, you got to talk to him. You got to talk to him. Because initially I was like, I don't talk to shit. I'm cool, but I think
You want to hear a hilarious story?
What's up?
From Antarctica with Liz.
What's up?
So I've never gone so long back to back things. I mean, it's like I'm interviews and then I'm forced to have meals because it's very important that you eat for energy and warmth. And then interviews and scheduling. And so it's like 4 or 5 in the morning and I'm in the library tent. And my computer only has 2 ports for USB-C, so I'm like backing up footage from cards because I need to shoot on those cards, whatever comes next. I'm backing up a ton of footage, and I've been doing it for like 2 hours after interviewing people for like 2 and 3 hours, whatever. And I'm like, I got to run to my tent from this library tent, just like across that little like street thing there, and go to my tent. So I run as fast as I can out of my tent, and I'm tired. I'm not paying attention. I get to this tent, and it's all zipped up and it's all velcroed up. And Dave's my roommate, and he was in the cafeteria working on his computer right next to the Wi-Fi, using different power outlets because the power is terrible there. So I'm like thinking in my head, I'm like, why is my tent all like velcroed? Dave never velcroed it. He's not even in the tent. We were leaving it open for the air. It gets very hot inside of it. So we had like one zipper. So I like undo the Velcro and I reach for the zipper and I hear a voice go, "Who is that?" It was Liz. I was at the wrong tent. Scared. I think I scared her to death.
Oh, so you wanted to tell me a story about that time you perved out in Antarctica?
Damn.
Classic. Classic.
wrong tent. No, I didn't get it open.
Classic.
Oh
But
boy.
she screamed, and like in my head, the terror going through her head must have been because you could probably hear me running up on the ice. And she's, in a group with men on this trip in Antarctica. And I was like, oh my God. So apologetic. I go to the tent with Dave, and I'm like, Dave, I went to the wrong tent. He thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Apologize, Liz. Didn't get it open, but it was just funny. You could hear like a mama bear voice, like,
Yo.
"He's dead."
That's cool.
Can I ask you
But
something real quick, Jonathan?
Yeah,
Do you have Discord by chance?
I do. I don't know what my name is. I'll have to look. Hold on. I used
Because
Midjourney.
all the Aether cosmology guys, Shane, Alan, Austin, we all have a Discord server that you could join, and then we're basically there every day. You could ask us questions at any point in time. I could put the link in chat for you.
Yeah, put the link. I do have Discord. You want my name?
If you click
I
the
don't get it
link,
on
it
too
should
much.
just
I
bring
just
you
use it
right
for
there,
Midjourney.
and then I could verify you as soon
Okay.
as you join. That way, like if at any
Okay, I
point
don't see the link.
with the main chat's constantly going, one second for you.
Yeah, this is like being recorded and broadcast and stuff, right?
no. This isn't being
Nope.
recorded at all.
Okay, Alan, are you streaming or anything?
Yes.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. All right, because I think we got to be tactical about some stuff.
I agree.
Yeah, agreed.
What's going on with it? Hey, Jonathan, you still there?
I'm still here.
Hey, man. Well, I just want to say what's up. This is the XO. I don't know if you can see my name. It's just Hamrami in Hebrew. But I
Yeah.
sent you a friend request. My channel's on there if you want to get back to me. But I'm also a photographer. I come from a different point of view on this. I'm not a flat earther. Ironically, right now I agree with Linnell. I like Linnell's skepticism. He's kind of very myopic on his intent, and I kind of like that. I like that he doesn't trust anybody. It's probably his best quality. But I don't really get a. There you go,
Yeah.
Linnell. Even
Yeah.
though we literally an hour ago we're arguing with each other, and of course I'm raging, and I had to leave because I can't control my temper sometimes, right, Linnell? Anyway, I did want you to know that there is a third option, and that is that flat Earth is part of the same deception, even though the Earth isn't a globe. And I'm not going to be able to explain it right now, and I'm not going to take your time. And you probably don't need to worry about this documentary that you're making as far as what I'm saying. But as a fellow photographer and someone that's been in this conversation for a very long time, I would point out that my prediction of knowing that the flat earthers were going to, thanks, Lavelle, I would point out that, flat earthers are going by the same playbook, and that's why it's part of the same deception. Both sides were going there thinking the sun was going to make the earth do something, and that's the same deception. It's the same fallacy. So 9 years of looking at models and maps has proven that it is, or people made a mistake, for lack of a better term, that they were deceived. I'm not a Glober, but the Globers right now are literally having this party because they think they won, because they got people to fall for this idea that the sun determines the earth, and it obviously doesn't. I think you know that, Jonathan. I know Linnell knows that because he said it. But I'm not a flat earther. So there are other sides to this story, even though mine might be very tiny. And I would just we'll have a conversation later. I'm not going to bog you down with all the information you've been given, but I would point out that maps and models are actually the same deception. If we're worried about maps and models determining reality, we're stuck in the cartoon. You're stuck in the deception. And of course, nobody here, I don't think, has ever been convinced of reality because of a map or model. If they were, they'd now have to admit that they were deceived anyway. But I appreciate the authenticity from you because I kind of hear a side of your voice that shows that you're still looking. And that's what you kind of said, like you haven't come to a conclusion yet. And I appreciate that, Jonathan. And I have some world record photography. I don't want to give the distances right now, but I'd like to show them to you because you are a flat earther.
Cool.
Thanks, Riggs. And yeah, flat earthers. I don't get along with flat earthers except for Whitsitt. I do get along with Whitsitt. I've talked to him a few times over the years. He kind of gets along with everybody, I guess, except for the atheist Glovers. But I have some long distance photography that might shed some light on this to show people that you don't need to worry about the sun, moon, and stars. Thanks, Nomad. And we'll just leave it at that, Jonathan. But yeah, there's another side to this. Flat Earth is part of the same deception, and I can prove that easily. If anybody could steel man me in here, I'd be without a job. I'll talk to you later. Thanks.
Hey, Austin, is this your man?
Don't vouch for me yet, Austin. Austin, don't do it. Austin, I don't want you to lose any more friends. Don't do it.
I know him. He's cool. Yeah, he's cool. He intentionally phrases things in a way to, like, I guess you could say, provoke good reactions.
Bruh. Hey, man.
Hey, Witsit, we'll talk later, man. I'm not going to put any pressure on you, but we need to talk later.
He's kind of cool.
He's a crash out artist, bro.
There we go. There we go. Okay. Okay. I'll be a pinata. Go ahead.
Lowercase OK.
Yo, I do have a question if I can get in real quick.
Yeah, what's up, bro?
Yo, thank you. Hey, John, man, thanks for reaching out to this group. I know you just got back home. I know you guys did a lot of work out there and it was real tough. I just had one question, just more of like just curiosity, really. Like when did this idea about a documentary start? And like when did you start putting it together and like start filming or whatever?
Yeah, we started really when Mark Herman was sharing on Instagram that he was going Antarctica, that it was a flat Earth and round Earth doc. I didn't look into it. I just wanted to go from my own perspective and history. I'm like, I think I even said it ago. I was like, I'm going to go to Antarctica one day, and maybe that was mere path. Maybe I was looking for the sky, like we're talking here. But the process began pretty quickly of putting it together. And what I mean is like I got the call from Mark like on the 25th of November saying, hey, there's a possibility you could come. He'd like you to maybe make some content, maybe make a documentary out of it. And so that was a very quick turnaround. And it wasn't until maybe my second call with Will, because on the first call, I was really selling myself as a filmmaker that had the abilities and the experience to document and make a project. So once he liked my work that he had seen and came back and said, yeah, this is actually what I want to do, not web content, not some short form piece, like a real piece. He wanted to know what I thought and what I would do as a flat earther. He wanted me to be a flat earther, or whoever it was to be a flat earther, because he didn't want a biased approach based on the past, what had happened with hit pieces. And that's when I dove in. So I think I got the call from him. We did a Zoom, and it was probably the 27th. I think that's right, the day before Thanksgiving. And he was like, I want to do this. I want you to make a documentary about it. He's like, can you give me some, further details? Or maybe that was what he asked for. And then he said in the Zoom, like, yeah, I want to go forward with this and do this. I want to book your ticket and have you along. And I had spent the time traveling to Boston, and the day before when I was kind of packing, working on a document, and I had about 60 pages of research and questions and things I was curious about, and like dossiers and breakdowns of the individuals from what I could briefly find. And I used that as a jumping off point. And when I got to Argentina, I had another day where it was a slow day, and I dove into really what I thought was most appealing. A journey story, 9 strangers deciding to go to Antarctica without being so much of like road rules, real world, not being like a hit piece, but like a real approach, real expedition, real polar explorers. Like what is this going to do? What does seeing the 24-hour sun mean? What do these flight paths mean with my limited knowledge of things? And the idea to ask questions along the way.
Yeah.
Which takes
great,
me here.
Great. This is like a really last minute kind of opportunity for you then. That's actually
that's
kind of surprising.
Yeah, it's really last minute. I mean, the opportunity was so fast, and my wife's like, you got to do it. You've wanted to do this for so long.
Did he already know, or did the industry already know that you were a flat earther or something? Is that why he reached out?
Mark knew, because when I saw that Mark was posting about it. I didn't look at the TFE website. I clicked the page and I saw like invitations were sent to people like Dave Weiss and Rick Dubay and Mark Sargent.
Yeah.
So I was familiar enough with them, but I didn't go into it. And I honestly, if you put so much energy into something before you get it, you get burnt out in this business trying to tell stories and get people's stories. It really comes from the moment that you know it's really happening, I would say.
Right.
And so that's kind of where I protected myself and rested on my knowledge. Like I really the subject. There's really things that don't make sense to me. And I need to make sense of them. And what better a chance to actually go on a trip that is significant as this? I mean, I say I want to take my wife and daughter back, but who knows if I'll actually be able to ever do that. We didn't have enough time, and
Right.
me and McKeegan both as like photographers. I mean, you couldn't catch us sleeping if there was a beautiful like angle of light, and it just changes all day. So you're constantly. I mean, the day we left, we had to be out of our tents at 7 a.m. Or maybe breakfast was at 7 a.m. I think we had to be out by 8. Then we had to check our bags in by 9, and then we're waiting for the plane to come drop people off from the next group and pick us up. So that doesn't happen until 1:30. We get in a truck to go. But I was so worried that I didn't have enough footage because I'm just upset that I got everything done, everything backed up on my drives, and then I packed my bags so that I could take them to check-in. Then I unpacked my bags and got my camera and my tripod, and it was like probably like 6:15 in the morning or so, and I was ready to go, but I didn't know how much time was really going to elapse before we got in those vans. There's always, what I learned there is there's always something next. So if you think there's a little time, it's either a meal or a mandatory evacuation early, like we had, or like some sort of a group chat with all the ALE staff and flat earthers. It just kind of kept compounding. So having that 45 minutes until 7 a.m. when breakfast started, and I knew they wanted us to have breakfast, I like ran around the camp to get 15-second shots on my tripod of every nook and cranny I could film in the last bit. Because again, as things progressed and the time frames of when we'd be there changed, you're like, oh shit, like we were lucky to get up there and get the 24-hour sun was a big goal.
Yeah, and the weather was really favorable. Like
It
I would have stayed
cleared
up
up
just
like
getting
you
a
would
bunch of B-roll or whatever, you know.
That's what we did. Yeah, I mean, we went out one night. Our guide was awesome. He's like, I can take you tonight. And yeah, it's going to be daylight because you kind of forget. And so we're like, yeah, well, that sounds great. Let's go at 11 o'clock at night to the glacier and the ice scoop with our drones because we didn't have the drones. We went to the ice runway. He was like, if there's time miles or something. So we're like, okay. Realized we didn't have our drones and we're super
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Is that me? Yes, no.
Yeah, he's
mandatory
lagging out a little bit.
meeting.
There we go.
And can you run it back to the drones?
What was that?
You went out for about,
You're
I'll
cutting
say,
out,
I'll
brother.
round out of like 20 seconds. I don't know, 15 seconds. Can you run it back to the drones?
Sorry, it's robot voice.
Beep boop.
I'm cutting
Stuck in
out.
the matrix.
Oh, sorry. I moved back to a better spot in my yard. Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
mic check. You can hear us.
Yeah, I hear you. Sorry
All
about
right,
that.
so run it back to the drones, or as far as you can
Yeah,
go.
so we went to the blue ice runway to see a cargo plane after our flight. We had a little flight on the snow otter. So they took us to the blue ice runway to see a major cargo plane, which was going to be there before we could get to it, but we could film it taking off. So we're like, we got to see this from the side of the blue ice runway. But when we were out there, he said, hey, it's only another 2 miles. Since you guys don't have a lot of time here because you're leaving early, why don't we go to this ice scoop? It's incredible. So we're like, okay, let's go. And then as we get there, me and Will are like, we didn't bring the drones. And we brought it up to our expedition driver, and he was like, I can bring you back tonight. So we actually went back that night to this location to fly the drones, and Will flew his first because my phone battery I didn't notice had died a little, so I'm like charging it off with one of the DJI battery bricks, and I was like, let me get to 20%. You fly first, and there was really strong winds, like really strong. And he took off and he wanted to get a really low shot, like a foot or two off the ground, flying towards the mountains because it gives this really cool parallax where like the ground's moving really fast and the mountain is still on the top of the horizon. And he crashed his drone and he had to go, our leader had to walk and get it. So he walked out to grab our drone. And then I got the opportunity to fly my Mavic 2 Pro and I launched it using the truck we were in to block the wind. And the minute I got above the truck where the wind hit me in full mode, full speed, it was being sucked backwards away from us. So I landed it. We waited. I tried to fly it a couple more times. You know, didn't get the shot I really wanted. I had Will walk along the road a little and or along the ice, and I like zoomed him a few times, which was cool. But it was just incredibly windy. And anyway, my point was like any chance I could shoot, I was shooting.
Right.
Only Dave McKeegan stayed awake longer than me. I had like 3 hours of sleep the first day we were there, which 3 hours they were like broken up and me downloading footage and just kind of falling, nodding off in my chair. But for the most part, I was awake and he was awake for like almost 48 hours straight, which is crazy to think about. He didn't sleep from when we were over in Punta. We were all amped with adrenaline on the plane. There was like every single person had a camera taped in a window because they all used my gaff tape. And we were shooting time lapses but you know the schedule was so fast moving and there was so much for me to do, like I said, like even at the end I'm shooting until I had to literally put my camera away to pack my tripod to check that bag. And then I still even shot a little leading up to the plane and flying out of there and the takeoff.
Cool, man. I mean, it sounds like you were really busy. How much work do you want us to work on? Like, do you need our help for anything? I mean, we're a pretty accessible group, and many of us are very articulate. You know, I'm glad you're on Clubhouse. It sounds like you're getting on Discord soon. We'd love to see what you got, what you're working with, or what you need help with. You know.
Yeah, I'm gonna compile stuff from this conversation that everyone's given me on my notes I'm writing down. And I think going more in depth into it, finding ways to articulate that into a visual element would be helpful. I think first my understanding of certain things will then help me translate into visual. I'm not opposed to someone saying, here's a great idea, like why don't you visualize this with a camera and just going and doing it. We're not planning to start officially editing till like the first. I have copied the footage. I have to copy it again. I want to go through and organize the edit before I give it to my 2 editors that start diving in. And I probably have between the other 8 people, whatever they upload and give me access to, I'm probably looking at another 4 to 8 terabytes on top. So it's going to be about combing through that as well. And then finding out some of these more tangible experiments that I can further document or explore in the piece that we're discussing here. So anything, again, my email is open. I'm going to jump into those discords as I can. I'll jump in here as I can. I'm going to read the
Cool, man.
websites, watch Shane's videos.
Well, yeah, great stuff. Yeah, thanks for answering,
Thank
and
you.
yeah, I'm sure we'll talk more. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Oh, real quick. I don't know if y'all heard Shane Allen, but he said that the ALE staff said that I guess at the same time they were down in Antarctica, that 2 other people had transversed Antarctica from north to south, and
Yeah,
apparently,
is Whitstead still in here? Because he might be able to bring a little
uh,
bit more light to that.
Do we got a trajectory of the route they took?
no, they haven't given.
I don't have
Yeah,
anything tangible, but
yeah,
we can look into that.
Yeah, we're gonna need tangibility and a route for sure.
Yeah,
We-
to be
we
able to
can-
map it. Yeah.
yeah, we can project that out and slay it right now.
yeah. So that's
And nobody in the history in the world done a north-south circumpolar navigation. On that link I gave you, actually, real quick. Sorry to interrupt, but this is super relevant. You'll go to circumpolar satellite orbits and terrestrial navigation. So boats and planes and stuff, right? There's never been any north-south circumpolar navigation, because you can take the equirectangular projection that they give to everyone, and they say this is the route we're taking, and you could project that onto any other map, because a function of the latitude longitude system is that you can project it onto any projection type, and it's invariant under transformation. It'll just look different, right? So anyway, you can transform that route in the same way, and if it is a true north-south route, it'll basically make a straight line across the map. You can see what it'll actually look like, because no one's ever seen one, because they don't exist. So you'll need it for reference, but take a good look at it, because it's the only one you'll ever see. And then scroll down and look at all the publicly available satellite equirectangular orbits that we transformed. None of them show the necessary transformation that would facilitate a north-south, like, you know, in the terms of going around a ball and coming up on the other side. Never been done. They just do large figure eights around the Earth, and they don't go over the North Pole, and they just do a huge loop in the south. Although it looks like, you know, much bigger than it normally is because of the projection type, but they're just doing figure eights in the sky, essentially. And then the same thing for terrestrial navigation with planes and stuff. So Pan Am did a couple of flights where they were like, oh, anyone want to go north-south circumpolar navigation? We're doing this exclusive flights or whatever. And they had this whole route plotted out, and it looks very circumpolar if you look at it on a equirectangular projection. But then when you transform it, they didn't go north-south. No one's ever done it. And then there was the final orbit or one last orbit, something like that. Same exact thing. They didn't do it either. No one's ever done it. So yeah, if people have done it, send us the necessary coordinates, and we'll see what's up.
Cool. I think that's a possibility to track that down. I know Will could definitely let me know who did it, but we have connections, so we can ask at ALE. They've been very helpful.
Sweet. Yeah. All right, man. Yo, thanks for coming and having a conversation. Like I said, I look forward to talking to you.
You're welcome.
So I'm not against a fair representation of what happened. You get what I'm saying? I'm just everything that's been done thus far, I think, has not been fair and balanced, right? And so, if you're interested in putting out a fair representation of what we think, then I'm willing to work with you on it. And I think Shane and Alan and some of the other guys are also interested. Get me?
Totally. That's great to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, I think it's only right. Like, if we're going to claim that, oh, this is what happened, then, you know, it can be shown, it should be shown. As long as we're allowed to put it in context, I think that's cool. I mean,
that's great.
All right, cool. Good stuff, bro. Look forward to hearing from you.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I should jump.
Yeah.
Talk to you. Bye, everyone. My email is my last name also at gmail.com. If anyone's just hearing, so reach
Later,
out.
John.
All right, so peace, bro.
Bye.
Good shit. What's going on, Austin? How you feel, bro? I think he's still with his family.
Yeah. Give me a sec. I'll pop in there in a sec.
Yeah, it's all good. What's going on, Shane? How you feel, man?
What up, fellas? Yo, it's been good to hear the our boys come back and not everyone lose their fucking minds. Right? That's been kind of crazy. I think, to put it less than lightly, I'm amazed at and jaw dropped at the amount of faggotry I found in our movement. But hey, you know, it is what it is.
Really? So I'm not, right? So it's a community of conspiracy theorists, bro. Like, we don't trust shit.
I thought it was a community of truthers, dude. People seeking the truth.
We are, but again,
Some of us are, I guess.
You know what? I think even the people that are losing their shit, I think they deserve some grace, right?
Because
You
everybody
mean
doesn't.
the people convinced that Witsits a retard and got hit over the head and dragged to a green screen studio in Antarctica where they showed him a sunsim? Those are the people you want to give. I'm just clarifying. I mean, I'm willing to hear you out, but
Hey yo. So what I'll say is this: people react differently to news. I mean, just think about the globals we talk to, who like the cognitive dissonance is just palpable, right? Um, then you have people who have they one time left the globe, right? And even leaving the globe for some people was traumatic. It was kind of traumatic for me a little bit, right? And so life changes. And so then when you see something like this, like, yo, we had a very clear understanding of what the world was, and now we have to go back and admit that, all right, so the light in the sky might be doing something different than what we thought it was doing. It was so simplistic. Oh my God, this is some bullshit. And so and we've seen it so many times. We've seen so many agents, informants, motherfucking disinformation agents, like we've seen it. And so I get it, right? So I'm willing to give him some time, right? Because I'm knowing wholeheartedly that, let's say, 87.34% of them, after a little bit of time and they go through their emotions, that they'll come back and quietly sit at the table and listen, right? I don't think they'll just
you
go
think?
on. Yeah, I think that's the natural arc of how it goes, right? So that was just an initial reaction, and so they have to just process what's going on. And I think eventually they'll calm down, and they'll be willing to listen, especially as more information comes out. As I know Witz is talking about, he's got information as he starts dropping other things to support the position. I think they'll kind of come back. You know what I'm saying? Especially if we can work with Johnathan to put out something that's equitable in its storytelling, unlike the behind the curve bullshit. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. But I heard, though, I haven't been over there because I keep hearing stories like the homies come back and they be like, yo, they're losing their shit. I'm like, you know what? I'm leading to it. I mean, but it's all right. Wits, tough, man. You can take it. Jaren's been through it before, right? Liz is the only kind of rookie to it.
But can I attest that the fact that Jaren and Witsit are such strong men, they helped me get through all of this BS. And shout out to FEG right now. Shout out also to Aether Cosmology. I'm glad that we have been able to, collaborate amongst the platforms and just build an even stronger community, because now we know who the weaklings are in our army and who we do not need when it comes to times of war. And now we know who are the true truth seekers, and we're just going to continue with that. So yeah, I just wanted to give a lot of love. And yes, Linnell, I know you're an Aquarius. You don't care about feelings. I'm a Cancerian, and I do. And I'm going to tell you anyway. I'm going to tell you right now in front of the whole world. Like, you have honestly been, such a great mentor throughout this process, and everything. And I'm just so happy that from the very same day that I met you and you told me, stand on your truth, homie. You literally said that. I immediately was your homie. It was all good. It was all love, all friendship, all of that. And that's what made me keep coming back to the spaces, through all the love and support through all of you guys, like Brandon, OG, Madison, Nomad, Nicola, Shishi, and our developing group, like Kelsey coming through then, and then Jess, and then we had Cordy. I know that Cordy hasn't been on for a minute and stuff. Coffee, honestly, it was so amazing to meet you, and I'm just glad that you're here and that you're cool. Hessa, I cannot wait to meet you in Egypt in October. We are planning for that, or in Qatar. Invisible, you came through the door as Invisible at the St. Regis, but I love that. I love that for all of us. And you know what? You just turned out to be just an amazing friend too. And Brandon, you already know you're always a warrior to go out there and have these conversations for our group. LaBelle, so much love for you. You have always kept it real. You have always had such an objective point of view. Mark, shout out from Brazil. Elon, I'm so happy that you come to the space. And even if we don't agree and you sometimes curse us out and we curse you out, it's all love, whatever. Kat, honestly, you, Leon, have been amazing women within this conspiracy space to help us build our other and let's take out the word conspiracy, just truth seeker girlies. And I just feel like we touch a lot and we resonate with a lot of the topics. We're mothers, we're aunties, we're daughters, we're granddaughters, etc. And I just feel like it's really, really important for all of us. And Alan, your knowledge just goes so far beyond you, and Shane brings so much to the community and space. And I'm just so happy to just be able to again be in the same space and share words with you. Riggs, you've been awesome since the beginning and everything like that. And voiceover, shout out to you. I see that you're on stage and you've always been here from the beginning. And to everyone else in the bottom, we may not always agree on things, and that's totally okay. But the fact that you guys are even here, even wanting to listen, shout out to everyone for real.
Yo, Two Shot Liz is my favorite Liz. What's up? This is awesome.
Hey, yo.
Here we go.
Right. Swear to
to the space, and you know, even if we don't agree and you sometimes curse us out and we curse you out, like it's, and now we know who are the true truth seekers, and we're just going to continue with that. So yeah, I just wanted to give a lot of love. And yes, Linnell, I know you're an Aquarius, you don't care about feelings. I'm a Cancerian and I do, and I'm going to tell you anyway. I'm going to tell you right now in front of the whole world. Like, you have honestly been like such a great mentor throughout this process, like, you know, and everything. And I'm just so happy that from the very same day that I met you and you told me, stand on your truth, homie. You literally said that. I immediately was your homie. It was all good. It was all love, like all friendship, all of that. And that's what made me keep coming back to the spaces, through all the love and support through all of you guys, you know, like Brandon, OG, Madison, Nomad, Nicola, Shishi, and our developing group, you know, like Kelsey coming through then, and then Jess, and then we had Cordy. I know that Cordy hasn't been on for a minute and stuff. Coffee, like honestly, it was so amazing to meet you, and like I'm just glad that you're here and that you're cool. Hessa, I cannot wait to meet you in Egypt in October. We are planning for that, or in Qatar. Invisible, like you came through the door as Invisible at the St. Regis, but I love that. I love that for all of us, and you know what? You just turned out to be just an amazing like friend too. And Brandon, you already know you're always a warrior to go out there and have these conversations for our group. Lavelle, you know, so much love for you. You have always kept it real. You have always had such an objective point of view. Mark, shout out from Brazil. Elon, like I'm so happy that you come to the space, and you know, even if we don't agree and you sometimes curse us out and we curse you out, like it's all love, whatever. Kat, honestly, you, Liliana, have been like amazing women within this conspiracy space to help us build our other, like, and let's take out the word conspiracy, just truth seeker girlies. And I just feel like we touch a lot and we resonate with a lot of the topics. You know, we're mothers, we're aunties, we're daughters, we're granddaughters, etc. And I just feel like it's really, really important for all of us. And Alan, like, you know, your knowledge just goes so far beyond you, and Shane brings so much to the community and space. And like, I'm just so happy to just be able to like again be in the same space and share words with you. Riggs, you've been awesome since the beginning and everything like that. And voiceover, shout out to you. I see that you're on stage, and you know you've always been here from the beginning. And to everyone else in the bottom, we may not always agree on things, and that's totally okay. But the fact that you guys are even here, even wanting to listen, like shout out to everyone for real.
Yo, Two Shot Liz is my favorite Liz. What's up? This is awesome.
Hey, yo.
Cut off
I
for holding
had
it
a couple.
down
I'm
in
good. What up?
Antarctica.
Here we go.
Right. Swear to God. Y'all was over at Flatter Fridays a couple days ago.
We, of course.
Yep.
How was it?
Well, it was pretty long, and there was people that were super upset with Witsit because that's like, you know, the easy route. And once that got calmed down, you know, it was a lot better.
Yeah,
But
apparently Wixon has 33 wrinkles on his face when he blinks. So he's a grandmaster mason.
dude,
You
That's what I
counted
learned in
too?
class.
Yeah, you're right.
He thought he could slide it by and blink 33 times in his video, but like he doesn't know we're all watching dog and counting them blinks. So busted.
Hey, yo, what you say? Wissy was born with 33 freckles on each cheek.
Classic Freemason, dude.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I got you. Hey, Austin, you been busted, bro. All right. It's gonna be like I said, man. I think it's just. I mean, so y'all must have saw it on Friday how it started off up here, but then eventually, you know, people calm down, right?
Yep, it'll be fine.
Yeah, I think it'll be fine as well. So I think what's important is that, like that there are calm voices. And so one of the things I like though, Shane, is that you immediately just started posting evidences on Twitter. Like you was just kind of hitting Twitter with all these different proofs, and I think that kind of helped, right? So just reminding people that the sky ain't got nothing to do with this conversation, right?
Yep.
It's, you know what I mean? And I saw that shit. I was like, good shit, Shane. And so it's stuff like that that I think the community needs, right? They need people to kind of remind everybody what we're talking about, right? They
Yeah,
need
that's
statements.
that presentation Alan ran through is exactly that. It's like a stack of our biggest truths. It's like, hey guys, don't go crazy and forget all these things that without a shadow of a doubt prove the shape, right? And then even the out of the sky dome stuff to say what the shape is not excellently put
Right.
with the null hypothesis on top.
Yeah,
Yo,
that's
did you hear that Exalted Orb drop? I certainly did.
Oh, I ninja'd it. Oh, sorry.
I hear those
yeah.
joysticks clacking, dog. I know what you're doing over there.
Yeah, good shit. Nah, that's. I think if that continues, then we can. Everything will be all right. It'll be okay. I mean, and because the rest of this shit that's going on, and so one of the things I didn't like. Well, you know what? He can't say it. So before you guys got here, I asked Jonathan. I was like, "Hey, yo, at what point did you realize Will Duffy was a snake?" And he was like, "Well, I don't think he's a snake." I'm like, "Oh, so you're just gonna lie to me?" But okay, well, you know what? He's fucking. You're still doing business with him. I forgot he's still doing business with them, and they're still working on a documentary. So he's not going to call him a snake, but that motherfucker's a snake. I know a snake when I see one, bro. Yeah, we'll be all right. We'll be all right. Good talks, guys. Good talks. What's going on, Kat? How you feel? What's Kat? What's up, Liliana?
I am here, sir. I feel wonderful, Linnell. It is a grand Sunday, and Christmas is around the corner. It's a bunch of family time here. So,
Hey, what is Shane's
yeah,
card? You know Shane's card, Kat?
I do.
What's Shane's card?
2 of diamonds.
The
But
hell's that mean?
some people would call him an ace of diamonds by his birthday, but because I believe it goes by sunrise, he's born before 6 a.m. I think he's more the 2 of diamonds. And that's
Got
the Lord of Compromise. And that is one of the most intelligent diamond cards that there is. And they are the wheeler and dealer card. It's like the CEO at the boardroom table that gets everybody to compromise to their will. So,
all right, cool.
but
Shane, did you
that's
know
what.
you were 2 of diamonds, bro?
Nope, you guys laying some knowledge on me. Didn't know I had all those attributes. Thanks, Kat. Is that some astrology?
Yeah.
Cardology.
Cardology, astrology.
Cardology.
Today is a 9 of Hearts day.
What's the 9 of Hearts day? What's that mean?
9 of Hearts. 9 of Hearts is in the sacred circle of 7. It's like universal love. 9s are always about let go and let God.
Hey, you know what? This feels like a sacred circle right here, man. I'm with it. I'm with it. All right, yo. What's Alan's card?
7 of Clubs. The Influencer. Pivoting Mind. Backed by a 9 of Hearts.
Okay. Not bad. All right, what's Witz's card?
I don't know for sure. I have a guess.
What's your guess?
I don't know his exact 2 of diamonds. He's a 2. I would believe he's a 2 of diamonds, 8 of clubs. Yeah, but different month. So I believe he's a 2 of diamonds, 8 of clubs, but I don't know for sure.
Hold on. When's your birthday?
He doesn't need to say though.
Oh, all right. Never mind.
April 14th, 1992.
Oh, there you go. All right. What's that? April. April 4th. I think that's not Gemini. Is that Aries? I think that's Aries.
It's a 7 of diamonds.
Oh, you was right about the diamonds.
Mm-hmm. 7 of diamonds is in the sacred circle. It's the prophet.
I'm 7 of diamonds too, Linnell. Remember that.
Oh, then it's fake news. That's not the prophet. If he shares a card with Hessa, it's all bad. It's fake news. That shit is bad. I don't know what to tell him. I don't know how he got there, but anybody sharing it with Hessa, they messy, right? They get on my goddamn
No,
nerves.
they're very special people. They're very special people.
Hey, real quick,
on a mission.
Special people, Linnell.
Real quick, while I got the Aether Cos guys here, Witsit, Alan, Shane, I guess Riggs too. Any guys there on mic?
Yo.
I'm here too, but I
Yeah.
wasn't mentioned.
Okay, my bad.
I defer to Galatrax.
My bad. And so I was kind of campaigning for like a rebuttal, more of a flat Earth final experiment to say, hey, okay, we had guys agree to your experiment. Okay, here's our rebuttal. Take us up on our offer, and let's come together, pull some money, and come up with a contraption that can actually measure the Earth, that can physically measure the Earth and physically measure the null hypothesis. I don't know, something like what I was throwing out there. I don't know if you guys remember that balls out physics guy, but basically like a contraption that I don't know that you would have to attach. It's completely leveled, and it would stretch for like a very very long, a very long indisputable length, and physically measure the Earth. Maybe find some calm waters in Hawaii, and everyone I asked, including I asked John, I said, hey, hypothetically speaking, let's say we had a hollow pole that was like 25 miles long, and we laid it along the water. What would you expect to happen? He said, hey, it would touch the middle, both ends. There would be room at both ends, or space at both ends where the Earth was curving. So they do believe that this is the result that they would get. So I wanted to kind of highlight you guys and say, hey, do you think it's possible that we can get a rebuttal that they can match us with an experiment, and that experiment would be, hey, let's physically measure the Earth?
Well, that's the
No.
thing. If you ask the globe-oriented friends, they would say that this TFE thing was like them giving us a chance to prove our thing, right? So like if I doubt it would be like a consensus thing where people would.
Yeah, to them it's over. It's already won. They're not going to redo another experiment. It's like, all right, you want to do rock paper scissors, and we're like, all right, best out of three. They're like, nope, we got it, we win, we're good, thanks.
Yeah, I think in their position they think they did us a huge favor by paying for people to go to Antarctica.
Yeah, so that would really suck that they wouldn't agree to a actual rebuttal experiment. That actually sucks, because that is for our argument after all. So yeah, that would suck if they don't. If they wouldn't.
With what they were saying, that this was the thing that settles it, right? That was Duffy's main thing. I'm going to put this thing to bed. You have, I think McToon says it a bunch. Like they really think that this one thing is like it's a settled matter, which is great, tactically for the flat Earth position. Because if people think that they can rest on their coattails, have fun with that. I'm getting back to work.
Well, regardless, I think they don't need to agree to a damn thing. You know what I'm saying? If we want to do it, we just do it. You know what I'm saying? Let's get into funding for it. But I think it's going to be a very costly experiment, because if you're going to lay pipe, then and depending what size pipe, because pipe is going to bow a little bit. You know what I'm saying? If you're talking about miles of pipe, but maybe you can get something cheaper. You know what I'm saying? Cheaper than pipe,
Pretty
but
small, just enough to fit sensors.
yeah. Well, the thinner the pipe, I think the more bowing, right, you're going to have.
Yeah, so the real issue
Just
though
wait on
is
water.
is how flat is flat, and you're gonna need an external reference to compare it to, which would always be the stars. So like at the end of the day, like no one, it's not gonna matter if you measure the ground, especially without referencing the stars.
What about in the water, buoyant pipe with the sensors all attached, light sensors, everything? I'm just saying, I do agree with what Jose said. We should just do it ourselves. What's stopping us from doing it? Forget them. Just
Yeah, no, we totally could, but like, what good would it do?
Yo, I have a really good one, but I have to say it in a couple minutes.
Yeah, circumpolar navigation would be amazing though, but I mean, I'm not willing to die. I'm not flying over Antarctica or one of the poles. I don't know. I don't know which one of you guys are.
Well, luckily nobody is, apparently, because they've never done it. So,
Like you said, Jose, who you trying to prove it to?
So, well, I mean, again, we don't need their approval, right? Like we don't need to get Will Duffy and say, hey, you need to agree now to our experiment if we want to just do it, right? So, to settle it. I mean, because circumpolar navigation would settle, for sure. It's, you can't claim a globe if you know what I'm saying, if you don't circumnavigate, right?
What
So,
in the Amelia Earhart is going on up in this bitch? You talking about getting somebody to fly across Antarctica, Jose?
yeah. I mean, what other final experiment you could think of aside from
Yeah,
going up
that's
in
gonna be
space?
final for whoever was on the fucking plane.
Right. That's why I said I ain't doing it. I ain't willing to die. That's what I said.
Unless you
The
want to
first
do
thing I
that
said.
thing that old girl Holiday was talking about, get a terminal cancer patient, put them in the airplane and send them over Antarctica and be like, well, here, let's see if they come back.
That's
No,
crazy.
what the fuck?
What
Yo.
experiment? should I do to
I see
see
your
if I
point,
can trust
though.
my own
Like
eyes?
a community-funded experiment that would be an adequate response to it. Because like this thing was an experiment, right? It was an observation, albeit from 8 different sources or 9 different sources. It was an observation. So you're saying you'd want like a rebuttal that was sort of crowdfunded by the flat Earth community? At this point, I would say it's hard to say because the like they
Inspire. This is
some people aren't familiar with any of those things.
To the eastern seaboard of the United States, but of course, a signal. Personally, it's not. And I'm not a flat earther, so no worries. Go ahead.
He did. I would bet money that he didn't even understand the argument or what was said. I would bet $50 right now that he can't come up and articulate what was said. So yeah.
That's
Prince has
a
been
time
around the
saver.
conversation, man.
Time
He
saver.
suffers from cognitive dissonance. That's all.
He had that
It starts
energy.
off with a bad premise, though. The idea he said nothing y'all can do to prove the Earth is flat. I mean, can he prove that the Earth is a globe? Is a good
Well,
question.
you see what I'm doing, guys? I'm just trying to demonstrate. Listen, if someone's mad at me, I'm going to ask that. Well, why did they come to my store? Is there something I could sell them? And then they're going to get rage quit here. He's already saying I'm not interested. So I'm going to say, okay, sir, have fun looking around. And that just proves your point too, guys. That's people just like to huff and puff. And if there's nothing I can do to earn his business, then that's going to be the end of my point. I'm done.
Yeah, I don't think he has arguments. I think he's just here to heckle and obfuscate the conversation. Francis, if you have an argument you want to make,
he's looking around.
I'm having fun looking. Yeah, Francis, come up here and talk to us. I don't think anybody here is going to be mean to you. If that's
Don't even waste your time, Galatrax, man. Just let him stay in the chat. He's going to talk his shit in the chat. That's all he want to do.
Okay.
Realize, wow, look how different things appear in water. So then if I go to the Bible and I look at Joshua 10, 12 through 14, it says the sun and moon stopped in the midst of Shamayim, which is showing us that maybe the sun and moon are in water. And of course, this is beyond my understanding, right? So if the sun and moon are in a completely different, understanding, a different, literally a different dimension, Chef, not only was the Bible right, that literally throws away all the problems because I bet God has a very amazing way of making lights in his firmament, his Shamayim, do things that we can't understand. So that's how it made sense to me.
Yeah. I think it's some type of layer that the sun and the moon are in, or a gate, if you would call it. But it's like, it's here, but it's not. But I do think it's in water. And it's just so beyond my understanding because, like, how can a light just be coming out of the water?
Oh, bro, there's some serious issues. How about the fact that, when we go up higher, there's less air? That doesn't make any sense in any type of so-called container. That's actually why I don't use that term. As we go up, Chef, in my opinion, this is just my biased biblical opinion, we're literally transitioning to a different dimension. And some of maybe the laws of our physical creation here start to not apply. When we get higher, it's like we can't, there's no man that can explain how we can breathe fine down here. But when you start climbing Mount Everest, you got to train for that because as you go higher, things just absolutely change. And we can't even explain that. That makes no sense to how things physically work.
It really don't make no sense. Like how you get higher and you can see farther too. It's like you're in a different place.
Here you go, man. Yeah. It's next level.
Can I jump in on this one real quick? Well,
Yeah, go ahead.
The biblical cosmology, I think it's strong and accurate in a lot of ways. I would say that the argument that we can't know for whatever reason is it doesn't track. You can't make that argument and have it track because it's an argument of incredulity, right? You're saying like we don't know because we can't know. So then you're basically saying the point of discussing it is moot. Like there's no reason to discuss it because you can't know anyway.
No, but they were saying that towards when I asked about the distance of the sun, like it just might be beyond my imagination. Like it could be really close or it could be really far away, but it's never what I'm going to think it is. I think that's what he was trying to get across. Like no, like I can think of a million different theories, but it's never going to be what it actually is.
Yeah, there's definitely different ways to approach this, Chef. Galatrax, what do you mean by biblical cosmology? Do you use the literal term of that word cosmology? Because actually, that's not what I use. So I'm not coming from a biblical cosmology point of view. I'm coming from the Word of God point of view. So it's not the same. And I know that might not make sense right now, but they're actually two different points. But go ahead.
Well, yeah, you said that we can't know, right? When you're referring to the heavenly bodies and what they do and how they work, and you said it's possible they you get into a different dimension out there, and you said you don't appeal to a container. Well, with what we know, there would we infer that there is a container because how else do you divide the air from the thing that is not air, right?
Yeah.
Well, my explanation is that I didn't say there isn't a container. I said there is no container down here that we can replicate the way that air works under heaven, on earth. From here, when we go higher, it just thins out in a completely different way that it is not replicatable with the way that physics operate down here. We don't understand how the system works. And let me just extrapolate a little bit farther. Earth is not a system. So that is another false paradigm or fallacy. See, Earth is part of a system. So there's many other ways or, I guess, explanations to how I can, show you my point of view, which of course is not flat Earth. So I'm not a flat earther. So it's not going to apply to your belief because you are a flat earther. So we don't have the same belief system. Yeah.
I have a question real quick. What is that system, Elon?
The system is called creation, and it's really far beyond our understanding, and it's very humbling once you realize that.
So can you maybe just simplify it and maybe make a long story short?
I would say that the Bible is the only way to simplify it. I would turn to Exodus, so the book of Shemot, right? 24. Are you familiar with Exodus 20 at all?
No, sir.
So it says, right? Oh, I'm sorry. Who am I speaking to? Let me look.
Brandon.
Brandon, all right, sir. Good. I'm glad to see we're on good terms. So in Exodus 20, by the way, let me ask you this real quick. Brandon, are you pro-Bible or neutral?
Neutral.
Perfect. That's not a problem. I just want to know. So Exodus 20 would say, you shall not have any graven images of anything of any likeness in the heavens above, the earth beneath, or the water under the earth. Right? So that literally shows us the levels of this creation, right? Heaven above, earth beneath, and water under the earth, which also gives us a much bigger idea that, wait a minute. Now just hear me out, Brandon. If there's water under the earth, when it comes to a biblical standpoint, you would then have to admit, if you're listening, that the earth is not holding that water that's under the earth. So that means that the earth isn't holding that water, then we can't call the system earth. Earth is just part of the system. It is a very large and immeasurable creation. If I turn to Jeremiah 31, it says, thus saith the Lord, if the heavens above can be searched out, or the foundations of the earth measured or searched out beneath, I will cast off all my seed of Israel for what they have done, which is really scary. That's actually basically daring people to measure his creation.
Facts.
Baruch Hashem, right? So I'm just saying, I'm going to humble myself and say it's much bigger than we can even fathom. I would say that this creation is so beautiful, so amazing, we can't simply put it into a sentence unless it is biblical. The earth is the Lord. It's just the earth. That's it. And the heavens above, earth beneath, water under the earth.
Thanks for that rundown. We'll see you in heaven.
Baruch Hashem.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it says there's water everywhere. Water above you, water around you, firmament in the midst of the waters, water below you. The land was brought up out of the water. Earth is just land that was brought up out of the water. If you look into it now, like the whole H2O story is bunk. And like admittedly, a Harvard paper from a few years ago, like there's at least 21 different types of water right now. We don't understand how it works. Water retains memory. Water's a trip, bro.
Oh my goodness, what's it?
That's
oh
different.
My goodness. No way. No, Matt, no way.
Retaining memory. That's heavy. That's heavy.
I missed it. Can you say that again, because the kids were distracted?
Yeah, so for one, if you're looking to like the H2O claim, it's bunk. And then even like higher levels of academia are now admitting there's like at least 21 types of water. That's what we've discovered so far, and that they don't really understand most of them, or water in general, and that water actually has memory, meaning it retains information. If you introduce information, say in the form of like vibrations or a spoken word or something, the water actually retains it. You can even then freeze it to see that the memory is retained. And then you can microscopically watch the alignment change relative to the information it's introduced to.
Yeah, it
The
seems
water's
to
like
have a type of
crazy.
sentience, or
Yeah,
mysteries.
it's crazy. Yeah.
Interesting stuff. Yeah.
Is the water alive?
Exactly.
Living waters.
Uh-oh. Well, that's just it. The water turns out to be the big mystery and possibly the big key. When it says that God placed the firmament, he placed it where? In the midst of the waters.
Mm-hmm.
And this means that, does anybody know what day Earth was created on?
Water.
Right. What day was Earth created on? Genesis 1.
Day one.
Yeah, day one. Let
I
there
don't
be
want
light.
to.
No, it's third day.
That's right. So in the third day, God brought the dry land out of the waters, and it even says he called it earth, and the evening and the morning were day 3. So it was literally all a water world. So in the first or second sentence there, where it says the earth was tohu wabohu, that means the earth was without form and void. And when you go to the word like bara, it means to create.
So what do that mean?
Or form. It means the earth, right? It means the earth didn't exist. So if I take a bucket of salt water, if we go to the beach and we put that bucket in the ocean and pull that bucket of water out, we're going to have earth in that bucket of water, right? Salt. And I think it was Jemsy that explains that when you have one bucket of salt water, you have all the elements of earth in one bucket.
All right, lads and ladettes, I'm heading off for the night. Head over to Clubhouse, hang out with the boys over there. That's hashtag Flat Earth Gang over on the Clubhouse app on your respective Android or iPhone app stores. See you guys on Tuesday for the Null Hypothesis.